back to another installment of Hound Lane. This is the second part of the previous dominance model sequence. So if you did not get an opportunity to see that one, I suggest that you do so. You will have a better understanding of what I'm talking about here today. And I will link that first installment on the below on the notes. So we're looking for a alternative and species appropriate model for us to relate to our dogs within our family. Now let's look at what this better model for us looks like. It is based on wolf pack behavior. And of course that is an important thing because at the end of the day, our dogs are genetically almost identical to wolves. Of course, as I explained in the first installment, domestication has played an important role in making them also different from wolves. So first off, the family model is defined in wolves by these characteristics. The young pups are cared for by the adults in the pack, including the females that are not the mother. In other words, almost like the aunts are also chipping in the care of the pups. The female parent attends to the pups in the den, while the male parent goes and hunts. When it comes back with hopefully some food, the male parent will voluntarily relinquish the food to the female so that she can feed the pups. And the pups will always be subordinate to the adults in the pack. That includes the parents, of course, and older siblings. The pups are fed preferentially by parents to the exclusion of older siblings. So if there's no enough food to go around, the pups will be fed. And last, in the wild, most wolves will disperse from the natal pack at some point. Regularly, by the time they're 3 years old, they have moved on to look for another mate and start their own pack. Now let's look at our dogs and our family. What can we bring from this ethology of wolf behavior and social stratification into our lives with our dogs? Well, first, we want to control the resources such as food and access to any reinforcer. And technically, reinforcer is something that the dog wants, the dog would work for. And also by saying that something is reinforcing behavior, we mean that the behavior goes up in frequency, whatever behavior is being reinforced. So if you get in the habit of controlling resources, you are establishing in some manner the same idea as being the parent of your dog, if you will, just like it happens with the adult wolves and the pups. You need to set household rules that are clear to the dog, and that is an important part because I might say to a dog, for example, well, go to your mat or go to your bed. But if I haven't really trained that, why am I expecting the dog to perform? So sometimes what we request is very obvious and clear to the dog, and sometimes we need to acknowledge that the dog needs to be trained in order to be able to fulfill our request. So let's be clear and let's be fair. Also, we need to provide consequences for behavior. People sometimes think that it's the cue or the command what drives behavior, and that is not the case. What really drives behavior is consequences. So I'll give you an example. Say that you're getting ready to go out with your dog and he tends to be pushy and wanting to get through the door first, and this has nothing to do with your dog being dominant. It's just impulse control issue. I want to get there faster. Instead of just opening the door and letting your dog go out there, you might request for your dog to wait. And maybe the wait is the dog could be sitting or not, but it's just staying in place until you release your dog. And if you notice that your dog is getting ready to kind of breach that threshold, you gently close the door. So that is you applying a consequence for its lack of impulse control. If your dog stays put for even just a couple of seconds, you open the door to let your dog out, which is what the dog wanted in the first place. So that is also how we apply a consequence. We also want to manage the environment to encourage success. So say, for example, that you don't want your dogs on your bed. The easiest thing for you to do is just close the door to your bedroom so that your dogs cannot access your bed. Or say that you don't want your dog to be munching or chewing or licking all over your kids' toys. Then put those toys away, because the expectation that your dog understands, well, these are their toys and these are his toys or her toys, it's really not very practical or fair to the dog. Now, what happens in multiple dog households? This is a really big topic. A lot of people have more than one dogs, and when the relationship between the dogs goes sour, it's very difficult to bring that household into harmony. And I will dedicate a whole Hound Lane installment to this particular situation. But for now, I want to say that some of the same rules that we would apply to one dog would be applied to a multiple dog household. So supervise resources to prevent conflict between dogs. It is normal dog behavior to want to access different resources. And a resource could be, of course, food, water, a spot on the sun, a particular bed, the crate, the sofa, if they're allowed on the sofa. So this would vary, and it's always depending on what the dog prefers, what it sees as valuable at a given moment. So if you supervise how you're doling out resources, you will be better managed to supervise not only how your dogs are interacting with those resources, but to avoid any confrontation that would lead to a fight. Treat your dogs equally with no preference for the quote-unquote dominant dog. And this is, again, one of the things that people that subscribe to the alpha mentality or pack mentality paradigm would say, well, we need to treat the dominant dog preferentially in order to respect that stratification. The reality is that it is not that simple. First, because dominance is not a trait. It is not something that an individual is born with. And so it's always fluid and it's relational. So it's not about a dog being dominant. Again, it's more about relation and it's fluid. Encourage diffusing of conflicts by reinforcing and diffusing behaviors between dogs. So I'll give you an example. I have 3 dogs, but 2 of them are border collies. My oldest dog is a border collie and my youngest dog is a border collie, both males. I provided my young dog, Stig, with a yogurt container for him to lick the yogurt, favorite thing in my household. And as he's doing this, Deuce, my older border collie, approached. Stig removed himself from licking the container, in other words, allowing Deuce, the older dog, access to that resource. I happened to be standing next to it. And what I did is I asked Deuce to go elsewhere, to go lie on his bed, and I gave Stig the yogurt container for him to continue licking. And then I tossed Deuce a treat to thank him, if you will, for complying with my request to move away. So in this interaction, we see how potentially an older dog might kind of muscle his way into a resource, and the younger dog saying, hey, you can have it. So in both instances, but especially with Stig, my young border collie, I reinforced him for diffusing. Instead of growling and perhaps getting into a fight with my older border collie, he just said, hey, you want it? You can have it. Now, I am the parent and I decided, no, you got the container earlier today or yesterday, it's his turn. So here you go, Stig, you can continue doing this. And at the same time, I'm reinforcing Deuce and not leaving him in a behavior vacuum that he says, well, okay, I can have a container. What can I do now? I told him what I want him to do. Of course, he is trained to go to his bed. And then I paid him with a treat that he finds valuable for his efforts. And this is a way that I can create harmony between my dogs, prevent conflicts from escalating. So I hope that you find this this information handy, that you can put it into practice. And if you do, leave me a comment. Let me know how it goes. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.